Okay, so today I haven't completely lost my voice, so I'm going to do an episode starting a new series. We just finished the voice and piano series, which I think is off the list, so we can just spin the wheel again. Um, so a number of these only have 4 scores. That's what these numbers in brackets are. So those categories may or may not happen. If I land on them, I'll have to check. But there's still some big ones on here. Flute and like solo flute and solo clarinet are both really big ones, I would say. So yeah, let's just roll this thing. Okay, so this one, I'm pretty sure I have enough recordings. Let me just check. I think because this is both, it's 2 different categories technically. It's piano duo and piano duet. So I think it should work. Oh yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of things I could do. Uh, uh, yes. I might have to organize them a little bit just because they're kind of all over the place, but yeah, we could even do some of the piano duo plus percussion things. And there's also a piano 6 hands piece. Um, I'm just gonna move them all around in reverse chronological order, and we're just gonna go through them, I guess. Okay, so I've decided to do the Bach transcriptions by György Kurtág to start because I think these are really fun. They're not quite compositions. They are mostly solo keyboard works, which Kurtág transcribed for piano duo or piano duet. It depends on the transcription. So for these, I'm just going to list the BWV number and the instrumentation, obviously, and whether or not it has a composition date. And if there's a dedicatee, I'll mention that too, because I always like to do a little bit of research on the dedicatees with my pieces. Just a little bit of extra trivia. So we have BWV 643 arranged for 2 pianos. This one doesn't have a date on it, I don't think. Then we have BWV 106 arranged for, it looks like piano duet. Yeah, definitely. That one is dated 1985. BWV 687, dedicated to, or in memoriam, Johannes Pilinski. This one looks like piano duet, and it's from 1985. BWV DEEST, and this looks like piano duet, or piano 4 hands, I should be saying, 1985. BWV 711, piano 4 hands, 1985. BWV 637, piano 6 hands, no date. BWV 611, 2 pianos, no date. BWV 618, 2 pianos, 1985. BWV 619, 2 pianos, no date. BWV 619, 2 pianos, no date. BWV 633, no date, but also 2 pianos. And then BWV 633, 2 pianos, no date. BWV 644, this one is formatted weird with some big margins. This is 2 pianos and no date. So, yeah, for the most part, the first half of these is piano duets, and then the second half is piano duos. And whatever I can find a recording for, that's what I'll listen to today. So we'll have to figure that out in the post listen. I'll sort of list what I found. In terms of like a history lesson for today, I need to go over Kurtág's bio because this is our first Kurtág episode. And I have to go over this one dedicatee, Pilinski. György Kurtág is a Hungarian composer who's still alive, believe it or not, born in 1926, so he's like 100. Um, he may never die. We'll see. Uh, his style draws from Bartók and Webern, mostly. He taught piano at the Franz Liszt Academy of Music from 1967 until the present day, I guess, and also taught chamber music. Oh wait, no, he taught both of these until 1993, so a period of like 30 years. And for decades, he and his wife, Marta, gave recitals of four-hand piano things, famously these Bach transcriptions, but also he has a series of pieces called Games or Játékok. And there's a ton of music. He wrote so many of these things. They're pretty fun. I don't have them, uh, so we probably won't go over them on the channel. But he's already outlived his wife by about 7 years. She died at a normal age, and yeah, I think uh, rather than go through all this, like just know that Kurtág, his music is really cool. It's really influenced by Webern because he studied with Webern, and it's like just like this serial music that has gained immense popularity later in his life. He was not always known as a composer, but his music has kind of been discovered in the later half of his life. Uh, One of his big commissions was Steel, which was commissioned by the for the Berlin Phil, and that piece is actually 10 minutes long, but most of his work is incredibly short. I should say that. Like he's very famous for writing these miniatures. Um, yeah, he's a miniaturist, really. And in a sense, you can really pair him with Webern because not a lot of composers other than Webern really specialized in that, but he did. Yeah. It is a weird thing, right? It's kind of like somebody who only paints tiny little canvases. Okay, that's not fun. Kurtág, Johannes Pilinski was a Hungarian poet who died in 1981, 4 years before this Bach transcription was published, I'm assuming. He had a vast influence on post-war Hungarian poetry, juxtaposing Roman Catholic faith and intellectual disenchantment. And he was born just 5 years before Kurtág was, and was a prisoner of war both during the Second World War and later under communist dictatorship. So, links in the video description to everything I can find for this one. I've set up a bit of a task for myself here, unfortunately. Um, but these should be fun. I hope I can find recordings for most of them. I'll see you in however long this takes. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, admittedly, most of the recordings were just on this one album, but I did find some videos of György and Marta performing this, which I have to say, like, some of the sexiest videos, I think, in all of classical music. I mean, they're just such a hot couple. Like, I can't, like, it's real couple goals, you know? Like, I think everyone can agree that seeing them play is something that every couple aspires to have. That sort of like deep intellectual connection, and I don't know, it's just really, really hot. As for the pieces, I think this collection really demonstrated like the distinction between piano four hands and two pianos, and what you're able to do with two pianos. Just all the piano duo ones were much leaner sounding and more crisscrossing voices, and they had multiple versions. So he would like these ones. He had A version and a B version of the same thing, just arranging them differently. So it just opens all the whole ensemble up. Whereas the duets are much more intimate for one thing, but and I kind of like them for that, but also you have like these very clear registers that the performers have to be in, so it's often like very got a lot of low stuff. There's some really creative things like the way that I think every arrangement had something creative going on, some sort of narrative. This one, BWV 687, had this like line in half notes, which was passed between the two players. And then when they play them together near the end, it's so gorgeous. I love that for them. And yeah, I mean that was fantastic. I really liked there was one that had a really creative use of like um doubling. It had like doubling things in twelfths. Can't remember if it was this one. Yeah, it was this one that had like the running sixteenths in one player. You had like doublings in the melody that sounded like organ mutation stops, which I thought was really interesting. It made me think like, oh yeah, this is not piano repertoire that he's then arranging. It's organ repertoire that he's arranging for pianos. So it's really interesting to look at it from that perspective. Yeah, and some of them, like this one, looked really cool on the page, seeing all these quarter notes. Um, I wasn't expecting these to be so popular. There was tons of recordings for every one, so I think these are probably Kurtág's most popular works. Um, and I think it's a good way to start the series. So, yeah, we're just gonna keep working down the list. Um, a lot of these might not have recordings, but it looks like a pretty good spread from the 2010s down to the 1970s. So, yeah, let's just get into it. I'm kind of excited. Obviously, I'm sick, so I can only be so excited, but um, yeah, this will be a fun one. Okay, so today's piece is Andromeda Galaxy for piano four hands by Japanese composer Yoshihiro Kanno. Now, this thing is from 2013. It's freely available on the composer's website. I just downloaded it right now. And there's a YouTube recording. This is the Japanese title, which may translate slightly different than Andromeda Galaxy. I'm not sure. And yeah, it's piano four hands, although in the score it's labeled piano one, piano two. I'm assuming he means primo and secondo. So yeah, lots of running sixteenths for however many pages, 32 pages. Um, we've done a number of other Kanno episodes on the channel. So I would direct you to these episodes if you like this piece on a first listen. Um, he has a pretty distinctive style, does a lot of film music, and yeah, it looks like this one was commissioned by the Japan Federation of Composers Incorporated and premiered at the start of the following year, late January, 2014. Uh, no venue listed here, but it was premiered in Tokyo. So, yeah, if you like this today, Kanno is very good about documenting all his work, and all of his scores are freely available on his website, so whole world to explore there. Um, this is a 10-minute piece, so I direct you to the link in the video description, and I will see you all in 10 minutes with my thoughts on this just after a first listen. Okay, so this one was a really fun showpiece. If you know Kanno's music, he really likes the octaphonic scale. We've listened to a couple essays on this channel that it's just the octaphonic, or I guess diminished scale the whole time. And he also really likes big, like orchestral type sonic things, like exploring the full range of an instrument or ensemble. So this piano duet genre is actually really well suited to Kanno's style, I think. And this one sticks out, I think, in the compared to the other scores of his we looked at. This one sticks out as particularly like riveting, showy. It's just got one idea after another, and they're all really solid. The repeated note stuff, the like thick melodies, like six, parallel motion, six voices with like the running 16th notes. The clusters abruptly shutting off phrases. That moment was fun. I think if I saw this live, it would be really, really fun. Like it's not atonal music or 12-tone music or anything like that, but it's not really tonal either because it's just like the octaphonic scale the whole time. So it kind of reminds me of like Rite of Spring. Uh, but yeah, I'd much rather listen to this than a lot of other like post amateurish post tonal stuff that composers tend to do. Um, like music that tries to avoid offending anybody. You know, this at least I think has some flair. Um, it takes some real risks. I think that's what I appreciate about Kato's stuff, is he always seems to be taking risks with his pieces. So, yeah, that was Andromeda Galaxy. Next, not sure which one will be next. Um, yeah, the next four scores in my list may or may not have recordings, so we'll see. Maybe something else from 2013 tomorrow. Maybe something from 2008 or 19, was this 85? Yeah, it depends, really. Okay, so today's piece is by Germán Romero, Mexican composer. It's called Brisas, and it's for piano duo. It took 4 years to write, 2004 to 2008. And just glancing through the score here, it looks really interesting. It's kind of like a cutaway score with four staves given to each piano, and it's very slow. Quarter equals 36, 44 pages long. I think it's about half an hour long. And you can tell just by glancing through it, it's very modernist looking. It has lots of uh, sustained tones that comprise these chords, right? So a lot of stuff that's kind of overnotated to show you the counterpoint, right? The contrapuntal nature of the music. And apparently it was composed in Morelia, Mexico. It's 380 measures altogether. There's no front matter. Uh, I did a bunch of Herman Romero episodes on this channel already, particularly in the earlier series. Uh, he has a lot of string quartets and orchestra stuff. At least that's the stuff I have of his. So I direct you to those episodes if you want to learn more about him and his music. He was actually one of the first composers to like discover my channel and give the channel a bit of a boost. So that was actually really formative for me, and he's one of the reasons why that I've kept the channel going as long as I have. Um, but yeah, that's about all I want to say about this one. Maybe I should translate the title for myself. I could have guessed that. It just means breezes. Um, so let's see if it's as light as it sounds. So this was a really good recording, I would say. If there was an audience, they were a really fantastic audience, very quiet. Um, it's a incredibly slow piece. I don't know if it's as engaging as some of the other Romero we've listened to. At least I didn't find it super engaging. But it is interesting and it is very out there. I like the subtle changes in tempo. I think the most standout moment, and probably most of you could pick this out, is when it goes to quarter equals 32 briefly, and piano 2 just has this little solo. This is the most active moment of the piece, and it just kind of randomly happens, and then afterwards we kind of switch gears. I think there's more like synchronicity between the two pianos, and their relationship changes. Um, Whereas in the first half, it's very much like they're kind of two separate things. I will say too that the opening is really effective. I think it takes 2 minutes or so before the first piano enters. You just get this one chord in the second piano. Um, I think maybe this would be more effective in a live setting. This recording didn't really pan the two pianos in either direction, so it was very kind of. I really needed to focus on the score to be able to tell which piano was playing. So in that sense, it was harder to listen to. Um, but yeah, kind of an interesting piece. Not sure why it took 4 years to write or what processes went into this. Um, but yeah, maybe it's worth studying in that case. Um, yeah, that was Brisas by Herman Romero. Okay, so today I'm going to be looking at the five pieces for two pianos by Henryk Górecki. This is our second Górecki episode. Maybe it's Górecki. I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. Uh, yeah, it's 12 pages, so these might be pretty short. The first one is 1 page. Movement 2 is a couple pages. 4 is pretty long. 5 is a couple pages, and the whole thing is about 7 minutes. Górecki's known for his minimalist music, but this is actually more serial looking. It looks really complex, actually. So, kind of interesting. Maybe I can find some more information on it. Well, it's Opus 13 and it is serial. Um, do I even have a year on this thing? Okay, so it's 1959. So it's about around the same time as his Symphony Number 1. Here it says it could be for piano, four hands as well. I don't really see that, although, yeah, there must be a separate version for that or something. Um, okay, link in the video description to recordings of this. Uh, yeah, I'll let you know what I think of it. I really don't know what to expect because I'm not familiar with Górecki's serial music. Also, this is our second Górecki episode, so if you want to learn more about this composer, here's the episode you should go to. Okay, yeah, so these are pretty cool in my opinion. Um, the last two especially, I really like the splitting of this last movement up into two sections, and the A section with these chords, clustery chords, is really fantastic and explosive. And yeah, I also like uh, this fourth movement, which is a little bit more longer, gives you a little bit more to chew on. Um, Definitely, I don't know if this is total serial, but it does kind of remind me of Boulez, although it's maybe a little bit more extreme in terms of like how different each movement is. It's not a lot of homogeneity there, and there's lots of different textures. Um, but yeah, it looked really engaging to play for the two performers. Lots of silences, pretty liberal use of silence and long held tones. And yeah, the notation is very complex and beautiful. I think the notation is one of the more striking features about it. Not that uninteresting, you know. I think it'd make a lot of sense to show this side of Górecki more in programs. Although it's obvious that he hated this style and later abandoned it. I mean, historically, it's pretty interesting, I think. So, yeah, that was today's piece. I felt like there was one I was going to do earlier than this, or maybe I just had the wrong date on this one to begin with. Like, I knew in my mind this was the one for today, but yeah, I have it listed in my spreadsheet as 1985, and it is not that at all. It is 1959. So sorry, that should have been at the end of this series, but oh well. Tomorrow we'll move on to some Dutilleux. You know, the list is still pretty stacked. It's got some nice pieces there. I'm just not quite doing them in the order that I intended. So, yeah, that'll be next. Um, but yeah. Okay, so today I'm listening to piano duo by Henri Dutilleux called Figure de Résonance. Pretty sure. First heard this piece in my master's. I believe I checked it out from the library at one point. Don't ask me why. I was listening to a lot of Dutilleux, particularly his orchestra stuff. But then I think I discovered this thing, and now I have a PDF. I don't know where I got the PDF. It's dedicated to Genevieve Joy et Jacqueline Robin, and it has a lot of, as you can imagine, silently depressed keys, which are then resonating, but in the context of two pianos, which I think is really cool. Um, Can't remember the date on this one. I think in my spreadsheet I have 1980. That could be just the publication date, though. That might be way off. No, 76 looks like the date. I trust George N. Giannopoulos with this one. Yeah, this is a separate piece. Okay, the first movement is 2 pages. Second movement is another 2 pages, ending in a double bar line. Third movement looks interesting. It's a little bit longer. And then the fourth movement also looks really interesting. Some performance notes on the back here. This is the program note, it looks like, saying it's a sort of catalog of resonances. So it's a bunch of miniatures, basically. I'm going to talk about the dedicatees. I apologize if we've done them before on the channel. I don't think we talked about Genevieve Joy yet. Modern pianist who died in 2009 but lived a very long life. She had this piano duo with Jacqueline Robin, the other dedicatee, who died in 2007, born 1917. So both of them lived to be exactly the same age, but Jacqueline was born 2 years earlier than Genevieve. And they were in that piano duo for 45 years, a really long time. Uh, Genevieve married Dutilleux. I think that's where we encountered her before, so that makes sense. Yeah, there's not much more info on Jacqueline. She was married to the composer Paul Bonneau. Seems to be less famous than Dutilleux, but older. Yeah, when was Dutilleux born? Okay, wow, yeah. So they're all kind of. He just lived to be really, really old, but they're all born in the 1910s. Okay, the more you know. So, link to a recording of this is in the video description. I look forward to meeting back with y'all and talking about this one. I remember it being really interesting the first time I listened to it, but that was almost 10 years ago now, so I don't remember a thing. Wow, okay. Yeah, these were really cool and they flew by. Wow. The ending is phenomenal too. I really like this gesture here, like kind of saves the best effect for last. Yeah, lots of interesting ways of working with two pianos. I think this could be well worth studying if you're trying to write something in that genre, just to like get all these effects. Um, yeah, I guess really just playing with like the attack versus the decay of either piano or in combination. Um, yeah, it's very messianic. Reminded me of Messiaen. Really reminded me of Metabole, that famous orchestra piece by Dutilleux. So yeah, I think this is a really, really good one in the scope of his work. I was also really surprised how much resonance you could get from a different piano when playing on one nearby. I guess it's not too surprising, but I think you would have to play around with how the two pianos are arranged on stage to get the most out of that effect at the very beginning. I'm assuming like one of the pianos has the lid removed just so that you can, yeah, I don't know, like project it all towards the audience. Or maybe you would want both lids on and they're like facing each other and you're getting all of that reflection like concentrated onto the pianos. I don't know. Um, yeah, so that was Figure de Résonance. I think the other piece I saw when I was looking this up was a solo piano piece called Résonance or something that Dutilleux wrote for piano. So maybe that's a sequel. Anyways, I don't think it's worth looking up. I forget what the next piece is. It's okay, George Crumb Makrokosmos 4. Okay, so today I'm going to be listening to Makrokosmos 4 by George Crumb. It's for piano four hands, and I believe it was written in the 1970s. Commissioned by the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center. 25 minutes long, released by Pro Art Records. One page of performance notes, four movements: Alpha Centauri, Beta Cygni, Gamma Draconis, Delta Orionis. Celestial Mechanics, completed in April 1979, is the fourth in a series of works subtitled Makrokosmos. The first two were scored for solo piano, and the third, Music for a Summer Evening, is for two pianos and percussion. That one we're actually going to get to in a couple episodes from now. It's in this. I'm categorizing it under the same series. I'd long been tempted to try my hand at the four-hand medium. Okay, the best and most original four-hand music, of course, is by Mozart, Schubert, and Brahms. The idiom is a strange hybrid of pianistic and orchestral idioms. One thinks of many collections of dances or the predilection for the fantasy genre. This set is is therefore a suite of cosmic dances. That's very interesting that he categorizes piano four hands as something very different from piano duo. I guess culturally it's different. It's far less resources, so it's more like intimate, right? My sole departure from tradition occurs at 2 points in the score where I have enlarged the medium to six hands. So I have looked at this. There's like another. The page turner has to help out basically. Actually, why don't we just look at that? So the last movement gets really crazy with the number of staves because you get a third pianist in here, right? That starts at rehearsal 49. And then there's also two staves which are percussion staves. Um, and there's a grand staff that's shared between piano 1 and piano 2. The third pianist has a percussion stave. So it's actually like 11 staves between the three of them. It's very gigantic, right? I mean, like this is a superimposing page of music. Um, and we actually end with the third piano, or the third player, so the page turner gets to finish it, I guess. The title Celestial Mechanics was borrowed from the French mathematician Laplace. The titles for the four movements are the beautiful names of stars of the first through the fourth magnitude. So I guess the stars that are mentioned here get increasingly large. Premiered by Gilbert Kalish, who I think we've mentioned before on the channel, who because he premiered another one of these Makrokosmos pieces, and then Paul Jacobs was the other pianist. The whole cycle of Makrokosmos pieces, so this is the fourth in the cycle, that was premiered in 1980, so just a year after this was composed. And that was premiered by uh, six pianists, no, four pianists and two percussionists. So, um, yeah, I guess the work was divided a little bit. I'm curious what sizes these stars are. Alpha Centauri is a star, is the closest star to the sun at 4.2465 light years away. It's a binary system, it looks like. The massive Alpha Centauri A is 1.0788 plus or minus 0.0029 solar masses. So sun-sized, I guess. And then the massive Alpha Centauri B is just a bit smaller than the sun, 0.9092 solar masses plus or minus 0.0025. Beta Cygni, now known as Albareo. Uh, it's a double star as well. The name Albareo specifically applies to the brightest star in the Cygnus system. Albareo A is how big? Albareo A is 5.2 solar masses. Albareo C, well, it's a three-star system, I guess. Albareo AC is 2.7 solar masses. Albareo AD is 0.085 solar masses, and Albareo B is 3.7. Maybe this is referring to the whole constellation or something. But yeah, the biggest one is 5.2, so that's much bigger than Alpha Centauri. Okay, Gamma Draconis is 154.3 light years away. It's also named Eltanin, and it is only 2.14 solar masses, so maybe the previous one is not referring to the largest uh, star in the Cygni system. Anyways, okay, so this one is quite far away though. And then Delta Orionis, also known as Mintaka, in the constellation of Orion. It's a quintuple star system, actually, and the sizes are one of the stars is 17.8 solar masses, another is 8.5 solar masses, 8.7 solar masses, and 7 solar masses, and 2.5 solar masses. So this is pretty gigantic, and it must be very far away. 12,000 light years away. So there you go. Uh, yeah, that is indescribably big. And that's the last one, right? So I think with that we can listen to this thing. As always, it's a beautiful score, right? I mean, it's George Crumb. So I'm kind of looking forward to this, and I'll let you know in this latter half what I think, having listened to it, and what my favorite moments were, stuff like that. Okay, so this is a pretty cool piece. Just comparing it to Makrokosmos 1 and 2, I think it's definitely not as inspired. There's not as much going on, like it's only four movements. But it's very lean sounding. Like I feel like there's a lot of choreography going on, different people playing inside the piano at different times, and all of these sort of extended piano effects that George Crumb is known for. They just like happen so naturally in this context, like really just switching from one thing to the next very effortlessly. And yeah, it almost makes me think that this is kind of the best genre to apply his ideas about extended piano techniques. It's like you need that extra pair of hands to really make it work. I thought the the pacing of the four movements was kind of interesting. It went from like movements one and three were pretty dense and fast. Movements two and four were very slow and had really big pauses. Movement two was probably my favorite because it was had all these harmonics. It's basically all harmonics throughout. Just realizing we didn't really go through the performance notes today. Um, I'm not seeing a lot in here that wasn't in micro or in his Macrocosmos 1 and 2. So, I think yeah, you could probably just figure it out on your own time. Yeah, there's a lot of like muted notes and harmonics just freely placed between like pizzicato stuff and regular playing, so I thought it was really cool. Yeah, that's it for Macrocosmos 4. We got a different piece tomorrow, and then it's Macrocosmos 3, I believe. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. Okay, so today's piece is Hommage, Igor Stravinsky, Sergei Prokofiev, and Dmitry Shostakovich by Alfred Schnittke. So, this is a piece for piano, six hands, and I love this thing. Uh, Discovered it pretty recently, like a couple of years ago. I've shared it with students before. Um, the title's great. Obviously, like Stravinsky, Prokofiev, and Shostakovich are maybe supposed to be the three people playing the piano at the same time. There's or something like that. Um, this kind of piece kind of reminds me of like black MIDI music or something. So if you have a student who's interested in video game music or MIDI music or whatever, which is a lot of students, I've noticed, you might want to show them this thing. I think it's kind of a fun way to kind of talk about piano repertoire. So Alfred Schnittke, of course, is a German composer, or sorry, well, yeah, kind of. They're a Russian composer um, who is no stranger to the channel. We've gone over his string quartets and a number of other things, but yeah, this is the first kind of like short standalone piece we've looked at of his that's not part of a established genre. You can see it kind of like it's one of those pieces that you have like three different things, one after another, and then one on top of each another, like just sort of layering, not unlike the Rite of Spring. Okay, so we got a few videos of this one. I think I'm gonna go with the first one because there might be a couple of different camera angles. Link to this is in the video description. Um, yeah, I'll let you know what I think on this listen. Okay, yeah, so I really liked the choreography in this. It was fun to like flip back and forth between the score and the video. You got solos in there, duos. It's very, yeah, choreographed and dramatic. You can kind of see how limited the range of each player is, which sort of determines the type of music you can play and how well it works. My favorite texture was when we would have these triads jumping back and forth between usually two different pianists while someone like might sustain a chord or something. I think it first happens over here with all three of them. So it is very like pointillistic. You get like chords all over the range of the instrument. Um, yeah, pretty fun. Forgot how many different sections there were. It's pretty long actually. So yeah, that was the big six hand piano number in the series. Although a couple pieces already have also done six hand stuff. So yeah, I think it's kind of a fun genre that has attracted different composers. And yeah, so that was this one. Tomorrow we're looking at Makrokosmos 3, I believe, which is for two pianos and percussionists, maybe two percussionists. And yeah, that'll be our penultimate uh, multiple piano piece. Today's piece is Makrokosmos 3 by George Crumb. This is so on this channel we listen to Makrokosmos 2 and then Makrokosmos 1 in the piano series. 2 days ago I listened to Makrokosmos 4 and now we're completing it by listening to 3. So I think at the end of today's episode I'll put a timestamp. I'm gonna rank them from S to F. What I think, what I think about the series, basically. This one is for two pianos and two percussionists. So it's kind of stretching the definition of a piano duo, which is this current series, but this is actually a pretty standardized thing because Bartók did the same thing back in the 1930s. So I'm going to include it. Uh,
It's also called From a Summer or Music for a Summer Evening. So it's more of a subtitle, the Makrokosmos title, and it's commissioned by the From Music Foundation for Swarthmore College, performed by Gilbert Kalish, James Freeman. I'm assuming those are the two pianists, and because I know that Gilbert is a pianist, and then Raymond Desroches and Richard Fitz on percussion. And the date I have here is 1974, at least for publication. So this would have been a year after Macrocosmos 2 was composed. We got a lot of performance indications and text right from the get-go. So yeah, like the first tempo marking here is magical, suspenseful. Uh, Quasimodo. There's a quote by Quasimodo as a subtitle to the first movement. So to streamline this a little bit, let's just go through the movement titles and maybe pull up a Wikipedia on this piece, see if there's any interesting info, just to prep the listening. Nocturnal Sounds, subtitled The Awakening, is the first movement. Movement 2 is just called Wanderer Fantasy. Movement 3 is called The Advent, and there's a quote by Pascal. Movement 4 is called Myth. Movement 5 is called Music of the Starry Night, with a quote by Maria Rilke. And that's it. There's just 4 movements. No, there's just 5 movements, yeah. Okay, interesting. Because Macrocosmos 4 had 4 movements. This has 5. Yeah, well, I could also maybe translate these quotes. Okay, this is a translation of Salvatore Quasimodo. I hear ephemeral resonances, oblivion of full notes in the starry water. Le silence éternel des espaces infinis m'effraie. The eternal silence of infinite spaces frightens me. So we're having a bit of a outer space theme so far. Okay, and in the nights that heavy earth falls, from all the stars into solitude we all fall, and yet there is one who holds this falling infinitely gently in his hands. So yeah, that's the one, that's the Rilke. Cool. So maybe that gives you a sense of what this piece is like. There's almost no extra information on Wikipedia. I just kind of covered it all here. Here's something someone's written on it. John Kaylor wrote, "It is a work so successful and open-hearted that Macrocosmos 3 is among the most frequently performed avant-garde chamber works from the second half of the 20th century." I don't know if this is frequently performed anymore. I think Macrocosmos 1 and 2 were probably performed a lot more. Um, but this is an interesting addition to the series. I'm going to get into this now. Um, yeah, just gonna listen through it. It looks to be around 35 minutes long, so it's not nearly as long as the first 2 volumes. And yeah, let's get into it. Link to the recording is in the video description, so you can listen along with me. Okay, yeah. So admittedly, I watched a score video on my phone today just because I didn't want to waste my laptop battery and I didn't want to grab a charger is the real reason. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about this one. I see the vision, like in the scope of the series. Like I can imagine like he just finished writing the first 2, which are a really complete cycle, and then he's like, oh damn, I gotta add another one. The first 3 make a really complete cycle because this one really feels like an ending. He makes a really big deal out of the last movement. So I think in that sense it really works. It's like a nice way to like amp up the series. Uh, it really does crawl though. Like this is a really slow George Crumb and often like quite tonal sounding George Crumb, which is not my favorite. But if that's your thing, then maybe you'll really like this. It's like very choreographed, so a lot is lost, I think, when you just look at the score like I did. It's probably a lot more effective when you have all the choreography going on. The fourth movement is just choreography, in my opinion. Like there's almost nothing interesting musically. It's just like one like uh I guess you could say one sort of processional after another. What is the word I'm looking for? Uh Ceremony, right? It's like one little ceremonious action after another. There's not really much acoustically that's of interest. The last movement I think is really good. It doesn't quite feel earned, uh, but I think it would make a really good standalone movement. Like if you just played this, it would be pretty effective as a Makrokosmos 3. And I really like the Bach quotation. He has in the score striving and then falling, and eventually striving and then attaining. So this little like moment from the Well-Tempered Clavier Book 2, he really like uses it to represent something in the poem that's quoted, and I kind of like that. I like that idea. I don't know if it comes across if you don't look at the score, right? And he has this idea of it sounding like a harpsichord by putting paper on the keys, which is I get the idea. It's might be more effective to just have a harpsichord. I mean, you got so many other things on stage already. Um, so yeah, this one was kind of a mixed bag for me. In terms of my rankings, I said I would do this. So Macrocosmos 1 is S tier. It's the best one by far. Um, Macrocosmos 2, I remember not leaving a very strong impression on me, and I actually kind of hated some of the moments. So I would say that's a C tier. Yeah, I would say Macrocosmos 2 is a C. I wouldn't really recommend it, wouldn't not recommend it. Uh, the this one and the last one are a bit different. I think they could both go into B tier, honestly. Um, I didn't really like love anything about them. I think I would rank Macrocosmos 4 higher than Macrocosmos 3 just because I think the having all the two performers at the same piano is much more dynamic, and it was just like written later in his career, so it has a unique style that the other three don't. It feels like a mature style. So yeah, I would put this in like low B tier, I think. It's like worth listening to. It will give you your score video fix. I saw a meme recently that was like, what happened to him? No score video with dinner or whatever. Uh, it made me think of that. Like, if you watch score videos every day, and you need your fix, this is a really good one. But I'm not terribly excited about listening to it again, unless of course, if it was live, I would love to see it. But yeah, that's Macrocosmos 3. Tomorrow we're looking at a physical score. I have a little pocket score of the Bartók um, piece for the same instrumentation. So that'll be our finale to the piano duo, piano duet, piano six hands, little shindig.
All right, so today's piece is the Sonata for two pianos and percussion by Béla Bartók from, I think, 1938, around there. Here's the score. Uzi and Hawks, coil bound. I probably spent too much on this thing, like $30, but had it for a long time. It's got these stamps on it. I guess it was in some sort of central library at some point in the Christine Moore collection. No idea where that is. Yeah, there's some front matter. The back lists a bunch of classical composers and then their modern works. You can see there's Bartók, Block, Bridge, Britten, Copeland, Elgar, Finzi, Holst, Kodai, Prokofiev, Rachmaninoff, Rimsky-Korsakov, Webern, and Rafe von Williams. And then a bunch of lesser composers. So this piece is one of the first pieces to use a percussion diagram, which is now sort of like a hallmark of contemporary music. The full instrumentation is three timpani, xylophone, side drum, well, two different side drums, cymbals, suspended cymbal, bass drum, triangle, tam-tam. So almost all unpitched except for the timpani. Apparently it exists in two versions, so this one and the version for two pianos plus orchestra. So there's some differences in the piano parts in the orchestral version. Yeah, if performed in this chamber version, one of the pianists should function as the ensemble leader. The orchestra version is 2222 4230 celesta, and I guess the same percussion list and strings. Second flute doubling on piccolo, second oboe doubling on English horn, and second bassoon doubling on contra. The first performance of this piece was in Basel, January 16th, 1938. I was right. At the 10th anniversary concert of the Basel group of the Swiss section of the International Society of Contemporary Music. So this is a really early ISCM piece, which is kind of interesting because ISCM still does like not just concerts but festivals now. I think ISCM just wrapped up for 2026. Yeah, so the other composers on, I guess the first performance, Béla was one of the pianists, and the other piano was played by Dita Pastori. The two percussionists were Fritz Scheisser and Philipp Ruhlig. So that's something I always forget, is that Bartók was a very capable pianist as well, and pretty accomplished as a performer. I guess there's some more performance notes here. The bass drum is to be played with a double-headed stick, the triangle to be played with metal beater, thin wooden stick, heavy metal beater. The cymbals are to be played with a timpani stick, with the heavy end of a side drum stick, and with a wooden stick, and then also with the blade of a pocket knife. The side drums are to be played with the usual sticks. However, like, the volumes of the two drums should be equalized as much as possible. So you may have to use lighter sticks on the one with snares. Those two side drums, it looks like, are over here, right? Those are the timpani. Experience has proved that two skilled players are sufficient for the whole percussion part. So he doesn't, I guess he doesn't specify, he leaves it open, so you could have multiple, like 4 percussionists or just one, but 2 is recommended, and that's how it's usually played, I believe. So yeah, bass drum underneath a xylophone, I guess. I didn't notice a xylophone in the percussion list, but those are your cymbals on a table back there. Your triangle is suspended, as well as your tam-tam and cymbal. So there's a bunch of suspended stuff back here. And another suspended cymbal over here. So this is kind of differing a little bit from the percussion list, but I'll let it slide, I guess. So yeah, that's what the start of the score looks like. It's kind of fun to have this as a pocket score. I think it's 3 movements, kind of like a concerto. Let me double check that. Or no, it's probably more like a sonata. Maybe it's a 4 movement thing. No, it is 3 movements. You can see the first movement takes up almost half of the score. And the third movement's quite beefy as well, with this thin little second movement in the middle. So, yeah. I guess let's listen to this. I think it's like not quite Bartók's mature style, so there might be some kind of cheesy tonal things in it, maybe towards the end. But, yeah, really interesting instrumentation that influenced a lot of contemporary music going forward. So, link in the video description. I highly encourage you to listen to this, even if you've heard it before. It's really a special piece. So, yeah. Okay, so I really enjoyed listening to this one with the score. It was a real pleasure to have a physical score in front of me and just to flip through it and listen. I think I've heard this one live, actually, now that I think of it. I remember, yeah, hearing it for the first time live, and it is really choreographed. Like, it's a really exciting bit of percussion writing. Although I think the whole sort of attitude of it is still very orchestral. It's not like the way you would see percussion used in new music nowadays. But yeah, I remember thinking that the last movement was a bit cheesy because it was so tonal and major. But actually on this listen, I was thinking, you know what, this reminds me a lot of Benjamin Britten. And it made me think about how much Britten kind of ripped off Bartók, and how Bartók is kind of the GOAT when it comes to contemporary music in the first half of the 20th century. Second movement's my favorite, I have to say. I really love that night music stuff. And yeah, reading a little bit of the context of the performance actually helped my listening, because I was listening and paying special attention to the first piano part and being like, oh yeah, that's something Bartók wrote for himself to play. So when there was, for example, like the piano 1 solo in the second movement, and then the introduction of the quintuplet motive in the first piano also in the second movement, it's like, oh yeah, this is like really written for himself to be enjoyed with other people. One other thing that stuck out to me, the triangle is saved until the third movement. I think that's really cool. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the only time it gets really featured. And yeah, it's kind of like some of the themes reminded me of his fifth string quartet, but it's not as structured as that string quartet, right? It's not like so dense with ideas and form. This is kind of more loose. It's like just gonna write a sonata form thing as long as I can, and then 2 fun other little things. And yeah, so that was Sonata. Add it to my sonata playlist of sonatas I have going on. And that is it for the piano duo, piano duet kind of series. I had a lot of fun with this one. Kind of a busy week personally, so a lot of shorter vlogs going through these, but yeah, there's definitely some bangers in there. I'm glad I separated it from the solo piano series, because it is a totally different beast. And also piano 4 hands and piano duo, I thought they would go well together. They're actually very different, I realized. And I guess like this little series, I was appreciating that difference, that difference between the 2 genres. So tomorrow we will jump into something completely different.